Hey guys, I'm coming to you live from the snowpocalypse happening in the middle part of the country. Doing all right here. Just been in my house for a week. Can't really go outside. Been walking around. I saw two twins just standing in my hallway. They want me to come play with them.
Kris, have you resorted to cannibalism yet?
Oh, if by cannibalism you mean eating people who are alive, then no, absolutely not. People who are already dead, though. No, absolutely not.
It's just not being wasteful at that point.
Is that an ear I see in your teeth?
I'm so cold, you guys.
At least, the twins. You have a better chance with the twins than the Wampa that is outside of your apartment right now.
Dude, you needed to see. Kris posted this little like TikTok video, like the snowstorm set to the Shining music, and he cuts to this look of him just looking out the window, like in perfect, like Jack Torrance hair. It was amazing. It looks so good.
I edited that on iMovie. Thank you very much.
It was phenomenal, man. That was so good. You need to get a TikTok and post that shit.
I do have a TikTok. I have one TikTok posted. You
need to post that, man. It was so good.
Yeah, you got to post it on our miserable pile of secrets, another miserable podcast social media feed.
Oh, gosh. Well, we are glad you are okay, sir.
Yeah, dude. At least you got to hopefully watch some movies. If you had power, did you have power?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I actually did not lose power the whole time, so I was lucky.
Awesome.
So I watched the shit out of some movies.
I've got some friends in Texas that were pretty fucked for a while. While we were having 70-degree days here in sunny Southern California.
Yeah, the weather's been pretty nice over here.
Must be nice.
Yeah. It's it was, but
this is the first time I've seen snow in like 5 years, so it was fun.
So it's like we're moving from a winter wonderland into WILLY'S Wonderland, and that's just great.
Last time I saw snow was 4 years ago, and I was at the gym in somewhere in New York. I forget the name of the town. New Rochelle.
New York City.
New Rochelle, and we were working out, and I was on a trip.
That's what you do when you go to New York for vacation. You just work out.
Go to the gym.
It was pretty magical. It was the first time I'd ever seen snowfall. I looked out the window, snow started to drizzle down as I was working out, and I was like, whoa. It was pretty cool.
After about one day, you realize snow's fucking bullshit and it sucks and you never want to see it again. Because my girlfriend used to live in Colorado, so I know this.
If you're ever in New Rochelle, it looks like the town that like Gremlins takes place in.
Nice.
I'm thinking of that moment, and that's exactly what like that like area, at least in New Rochelle, looks like. It was it's cool.
Well, the nice thing about when it snows in the South, or specifically in Arkansas, nobody knows how to deal with it. We don't have snow plows. We don't have like road assistant. So when it snows, everyone just freaks out and shuts everything down.
Yeah.
For the bars, all the bars stay open. People got to drink. But my work closed, my school closed. I was just like, well, I guess I'm just not going to leave my apartment for a few days. So I ain't driving in that shit.
Snow Day, son, and you watched the movie Snow Day. I saw that.
I watched probably like 80% of the movie Snow Day, and then when I got to when I felt it was winding down, I was like, all right, I'm done with this shit. I can't relate to this movie anymore. Not that I related to it much in the year 2000. I was already kind of like on the inside of watching Nickelodeon. Like SpongeBob was taking over, and I was like, I don't think I'm moving on from this shit. I'm watching more Comedy Central nowadays.
I don't think I ever related to it because we never had snow days out here. So I was like, I'm missing out.
Dude, I was 20 when that shit came out. I didn't relate to it.
All right, welcome to another Miserable Podcast, everybody. My name is Zach. Joining me, as always, my two very classy co-hosts, Professor Pistol, Chris Pistol, Professor Casey. How's it going, guys?
And Professor Jim Moriarty.
Yes. And let's see. I'm trying to think of another professor. Professor Charles Xavier. Zach, you need to become a professor. You're dragging this podcast
I know
down.
it feels weird, like now that you guys are both professors, so I both have to refer to you as
Go get your damn master's degree already.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh man,
They're just like handing them out in Northridge. It's fine. It's not that far.
So we have some fun stuff planned for you in this episode. We're going to introduce a couple of new segments because why not?
Yeah. Segment number
We were
one,
bored.
Dicks Out. Our segment one is called Dicks Out for Nick Cage.
Let me correct myself. Another Miserable Podcast, Horror Decomposed, because I introduced that in the last episode. I know it's not reflected on the social media yet, but it will be. Just waiting on some artwork. But that's the tagline. So we the pumpkin-centered intersection of horror and pop culture, as I like to refer to us as. And before we get to our feature presentation today, which is a fun one, I have some news that I want to discuss with you guys. It broke, I think it was yesterday, that Edgar Wright is directing a new adaptation of Running Man, and I am so excited for this. I just
It sounds right up his alley.
my mind is just spinning on how this is going to go. I read an article on it, and apparently it's going to be more faithful to the novel than the remake was, the original adaptation was, which is interesting because I haven't read the novel.
I was going to say, I'm guessing you were really excited because you've read the novel.
I love the adaptation of it from '87,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Stephen King novel, which I didn't realize, but I guess it was written under a pseudonym Richard Bachman, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in the novel, like in the adaptation, they have like all these zones. Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is like cast off into this, for the Running Man game. And then there's all these crazy stalker characters. And those characters, Professor Sub-Zero, Buzzsaw, Dynamo, Fireball, Captain Freedom, they're not in the book. They made them for that movie, which is weird because those characters seem like right up Edgar Wright's alley. Like he would go crazy for like that. Like I'm just thinking of Scott Pilgrim. And so it's going to be weird if his is like more serious. Like he has such style with his as a filmmaker. So I'm just curious. Like I imagine he's going to have some references to those, even though they weren't in the book. But I just know he's supposed to be more faithful to the novel. So I'm very curious to see exactly what he does because I can't imagine it's going to be like so much more, like a dark and gritty, reboot that doesn't seem like his style. So I'm very curious to see what he does and who.
I can't imagine Edgar Wright wanting to do just like a straight remake of any movie. So I feel like it's definitely going to be, wildly different in however way the novel is. I haven't read the book.
I just think it's way better than the last remake of it, The Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Though I do got to say that the other remake of it, Battle Royale, was pretty good. As long as you don't watch the second one ever. Don't. It doesn't.
I didn't know there was a second one.
I watched.
Yeah,
that.
good. Don't. Yeah. I mean, it's or play the video game adaptation Fortnite. Yeah, it's something that's like pretty heavy on pop culture right now. So I see why he's doing it. I'm interested in seeing what he does. I have not read the story by Bachman, but I am a fan of the original movie and a fan of Jesse the Body Ventura, who's probably not even going to be in this. Where's the workout video, Zach? It's not in the original.
Edgar Wright is turning into like Guillermo del Toro with how many like projects or future projects he gets attached to.
Yeah, where the fuck's
level.
my Haunted Mansion movie?
Was that ever a thing? Oh no, that was the Guillermo del Toro thing.
I say Edgar Wright doing a Haunted Mansion movie. That would be weird.
That would
man.
be
might get done before Guillermo does. So
yeah, I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. But he was like attached to this ended up dying, but he was attached to like a DreamWorks animated movie that was based on a Neil Gaiman story or something.
Yeah,
which sounds like that would have been fucking awesome to see Edgar Wright do an animated movie. Yeah, he was like a few months ago. He was like announced to do some other book adaptation. I can't for the fuck life of me I can't find what it is right now. But I remember I put the audiobook of that book in my queue just because I was like, oh, okay, well, that's gonna be a Edgar Wright thing, so I'm gonna want to read that.
I feel like he's been in quarantine and he's been coming up with a lot of ideas, and now he's just putting the pen to ink and signing some contracts based on those ideas.
Yeah,
like, oh, I've got something good for them, Running Man. Okay, I'm Edgar Wright, so they won't fucking say no to me.
Yeah. Oh, so the book he's also apparently set to do is an adaptation of a book called "Set My Heart to 5" by Simon Stevenson. So whatever the fuck that shit is. It's about an android dentist. What the hell?
Yeah, I'm still mad about Ant-Man. So
oh, well, so is he. So
yeah, I mean, I liked the movie that we got, but still.
I liked it. Apparently, he just reconnected with Kevin Feige. They just had a heart-to-heart over the phone, so hopefully that leads to something.
Yeah, give Edgar Wright the She-Hulk television show. Just do it. He'll do great. He would make that work.
And back in June, it was reported that he was going to direct an adaptation of a book called The Chain. So
I looked that up. It sounded kind of interesting. It's like a thriller.
Yeah. So, damn.
It doesn't sound like an Edgar Wright movie. Definitely.
The Chain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Sounds like something you'd see like in the late 90s, on Cinemax or something. Which we're going to be talking about some of those movies pretty soon.
Yeah, should we get to our feature presentation here, or as I'm going to refer to it now as any movie that we've all seen, our feature scare?
This is like the first movie that we've all seen at the same time.
In a
long time. Yeah. Probably since like theaters closed.
Yeah, probably. All right. This is the feature scare.
All right, or as I like to call this segment, Dicks Out for Nick Cage.
WILLY'S Wonderland. It's directed by Kevin Lewis and written by Gio Parsons. And before we even talk about the movie, there's an excellent article with director Kevin Lewis and Gio Parsons. And if you haven't heard of them, that's kind of the point of the article. It's from EW. It just kind of talks about how this got made. And it's really fascinating. Gio Parsons was just like he's an actor trying to get work and hasn't been able to find anything. He's put on a lot of one-man plays and things like that and just hasn't gotten anything going. And someone told him to just try and, film something. And so initially I think he was going to be Nicolas Cage in this movie. He was just planning on doing a very low budget. And he made this character really with no dialogue, so he didn't have to focus on lines for it. It was just going to be kind of like a acting piece. And then they got the script to Nicolas Cage and he was like, I'm down. And
of course he is.
But Nicolas Cage was like, apparently some of the animatronic characters, they were more like mammals. And he was like, he was like apparently big into like amphibians and things like that. And he's like, get some frogs and crap in there, some chameleons and shit. And
dude, he was right, because the gator, pretty great. Okay, really quickly, Zach.
Yeah.
How many times did the article mention Five Nights at Freddy's? Because this is clearly a ripoff.
He didn't mention it once.
Yeah,
of course not.
I thought so.
This interview, which besides that, it's a really interesting article. And this director Kevin Lewis is someone that he directs stuff like in early like 2000s and stuff, but hasn't had a ton of success since then. And so it was kind of cool to see these kind of struggling artists come together and produce something that's been a hit for them.
It's interesting that this came out. Banana Splits came out.
Still haven't seen that.
And they're both ripoffs of Five Nights at Freddy's, but the Five Nights at Freddy's movie can't get made despite it being, I think, $1 billion franchise now, as far as gaming goes, believe it or not. And it's
the curse. The curse of gaming.
Kids love that game.
That was the thing everyone talked about for like at least a good year, and it's kind of fallen off. And I think the new one hasn't been made in a while, and hopefully they get some hype, because I'd still love to see a Five Nights at Freddy's film, especially compare it to this.
The kids I work with love it. They still love Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, we'll do a spoiler segment, but let's get our initial thoughts about Willy's Wonderland.
Oh God,
break down the plot here and just initial.
No, we don't need to break down much of a plot. It's look, if you're coming to this movie for a plot, you're in the wrong place. This is a movie you watch to have fun, and I had so much fun watching this movie. First of all, loved Chuck E. Cheese as a kid. As an adult, I find it fascinating. I find the robots fascinating. I find the fact that it was kind of almost part of Atari for a while. And the whole Showbiz Pizza merger. Those of you that are in different parts of the country probably grew up with Showbiz Pizza. We had Chuck E. Cheese out here in California. Yeah, it was a pretty fascinating place because even as a kid, you're like, what if these robots killed us?
Quick trivia question for you guys. What is the name of Chuck E. Cheese's band?
I've
never been to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Munch's Make Believe Band is the name of Chuck E. Cheese's band.
Do you know which one Munch is, Zach? Because I know which one Munch is.
I didn't know there was a band. I thought it was just Chucky.
Oh no, he's got a whole band. There's Munch, who's like a purple kind of like cookie monster that the alligator was kind of based on in this movie. There's a bird, and I don't think there's a gorilla. I don't think so, unfortunately. Because the Gorilla's a Showtime Pizza thing. We also used to have a standalone animatronic at ours of a hound dog who was a hound dog that sang Elvis Presley songs, which is amazing. That's like worth the price of admission alone.
Do they still have the robots at the Chuck E. Cheese restaurants now?
Yeah, they do. I know. Yeah, they still do.
I looked on the wiki. They removed them in a lot of them in favor of just like costume characters and like I think the music, like so that band is not there in a lot of them, but I think they still exist in few of them at least.
Like if you go to one that's been there forever, they're still there apparently. So if I was a betting man, I would say they're still at the one at the Fallbrook Center.
Like I just found out, like when they rebooted the Chuck E. Cheese character just to be that dude with the guitar and kind of more hip than his old gimmick. That's when they started.
He was like a skater. He like had like rollerblades on and
hat
shit.
And yeah.
Skater with no style, man.
I still had him where he kind of dressed like he wore a vest. He was just like a rat cartoon character. And we also have to warn our listeners that if you're on like Uber Eats or Grubhub and you see Pasquale's Pizzeria as a choice, that's Chuck E. Cheese trying to sell you their pizza under a fake name because Pasquale is the Italian chef character from Chuck E. Cheese.
Now I'm just thinking about the like clearly like Chuck E. Cheese inspired place in a Goofy movie, and I can't remember the name of it that they go visit.
Lester's Possum.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm more familiar with that than Chuck E. Cheese because I never went to Chuck E. Cheese as a child. My parents refused to take me.
You didn't miss out too much.
I really wanted to go though after the commercials I saw. I just wanted to get in that ball pit.
The best part was the ball pit, which apparently is a breeding ground for bacteria and no longer exists at any of them.
And snakes. My parents told me there were snakes in there, and I was like, okay, I don't want to get in the ball pit anymore.
Oh, have you seen that Jackass movie where they put snakes in there?
No. Jesus.
Yeah, Johnny Knoxville got bit by a python, and they draw lots of blood.
Even as a kid, I don't think I really liked. There was a place before Chuck E. Cheese came to Burbank called Discovery Zone that was like Chuck E. Cheese without the branding, and I liked that place a little bit more. They had a pretty cool ball pit.
Yeah, that place was more like a Gymboree is now, or like when Gymboree was actually a place and not just a store.
Yeah.
It
was basically Dave and Buster's for kids. And
Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, Dave and Buster's is Chuck E. Cheese for adults. So without the animatronics.
As an adult, I'm just imagining a place where like everything is covered in pizza grease because the kids eat pizza and then they go and touch everything.
Oh yeah, doo-doo and pizza grease all over.
I do not remember much about the Chuck E. Cheese food, but I just know it wasn't good.
Honestly, their pizza improved because I've had to go to like kids' birthday parties of people I know with kids there, and the pizza's way better than I remembered when I was a kid. But it was absolute shit when I was a kid.
Oh god.
Now Willie does not serve pizza; he serves hot dogs.
Yes.
That's a very, very important distinction to not get sued, probably.
Yeah, this place
in this
didn't have
movie.
Willy's Wonderland didn't seem to have. They have like a magical tree room. It looks like where the fairy lives, but they don't seem to have like much in as far as one pinball machine that Nicolas Cage plays.
Yeah, and it looks like that's just in the break room anyway. It's not even like out where kids can play it. Yeah. Because it was a decent arcade in the real place. Like that's the first place I played Dragon's Lair. That's like a high ticket item right there.
Do you think how much of the budget do you think went to Nicolas Cage? I guess I'm sure they sent him though a quote, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'll do it for whatever."
Enough that the fairy character's just a person and doesn't even look like an animatronic.
So, like, according to this article, like they sent the script to Nicolas Cage, and like the writer was just like staring at his wall for like 48 hours while they waited to find out if Cage was going to do it. And then he said, "Yeah," and he had like 1 month free in his calendar, and it was like, "We have to do it in this time period. If it goes any longer, he can't do it." So they like got like all these, they got everything they needed to get made. Only one of these characters is animatronic. The rest are people in costumes. That is the ostrich was the animatronic they made. And
that's why that one's the first to go.
And it's the only one that gets skinned alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but they did it. And apparently, we'll get into spoilers, but they talked about having one line towards the end of the movie, like, like an Ash Groovy kind of line. And they decided ultimately not to do that because
so me and my girlfriend were watching it, and she was like, at a certain point, she's like, I bet he's not going to say anything in this whole movie. And I was like, I bet he says one word towards the end of the movie, and damn it, I lost the bet.
I was hoping he would say, "Bitch, get out of my car. You're too young."
That would have been
hilarious. What is that dynamic?
We'll get to that in spoilers. Apparently, in the script, the writer had written like "Come at me, bro" before his final showdown, and Nicolas Cage was adamant. They're like, no dialogue.
That's lame.
Yeah.
So, that would date the movie terribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts before we talk about spoilers on Willy's Wonderland.
See it now. I know it's $20. It's worth it. It's a good time. What else are you gonna do? Fucking your quarantines. Just go see some shit. Come on. It's worth it. I'd say see Psycho Gorman first, but come on.
I thought it was fine. Like, I think there are like glimpses of really awesome stuff. But really, I feel like this movie is two movies, and we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of that. But I feel like all the Nicolas Cage stuff is great and works really well, and would probably make a better short film than like everything else that's in this movie that pads it out to feature length. Like we were talking about Edgar Wright earlier, and I hate to compare any filmmaker to Edgar Wright because that's just not fucking fair. But just like seeing what someone like that does with like a pretty fairly simple idea and like hardly any budget versus what this guy did, it's like I'm like, oh, it's there's like really good stuff like bleeding through the cracks that I'm seeing, like some really funny moments, some really clever stuff. But mostly I was just kind of like, it was all right. I don't know if I'm gonna like remember this too much in like a couple months. So I think I kind of fall in the middle.
I have a feeling just from what I've seen upcoming that this might be one of my top 5 for the year, just because there's not a lot coming out to compete.
There's a lot coming out. What are you talking about? Did you not?
Yeah,
but not in our episode?
Yeah, I know, Zach. I saw myself as liking maybe 2 of those movies, and King Kong's a little iffy.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, everyone watch the Mortal Kombat trailer though. That looks great.
That does look good.
So do we want to do our ratings before the spoilers?
Either way, we can do it after spoilers.
Yeah, let's do it before, just if people are going to go watch it before we get into the nitty gritty.
All right, Kris, what was your rating?
I think I initially gave it 3 out of 5.
But you dropped it.
Yeah, I did drop it. The reason I dropped it is because I watched Nomadland after that, and I was like, that was a really fucking great movie. I don't know if I loved it though, so I gave it like 4, and then I was like, wait, I can't give it 1 star higher than fucking Willy's Wonderland.
There's a half star in between, man.
I drift back and forth between 3 and 2.5, just because I think we'll wait in a few months to see if I even remember this movie, and then we'll see how I feel about it.
Casey, your rating?
I all my ratings are gut reactions immediately after, like, the second the credits start rolling.
Do it.
And I can't change them. And I gave this 4 stars.
All right.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. I felt like I was part of the target audience. Yeah, it's derivative. Yeah, there's like a lot of cliche stuff going on, but I like slasher movies. I can't complain about cliche shit going on. That's like what defines the genre that I enjoy the most. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed this thoroughly. I highly recommend it. You haven't lived until you've seen. Okay, minor spoiler, but you gotta. This is a line that needs to go on the DVD box, so I have to say it now. You haven't lived until you have seen Nicolas Cage curb stomp an alligator into a urinal.
That was the highlight for me.
That was the gorilla.
Oh, it was the gorilla?
Oh, yeah, it was the
Yeah.
gorilla.
Oh,
Yeah.
even better. Oh, yeah,
The
'cause
alligator, he pulled his mouth apart.
Yeah, he did
Which
the
brings
King
me
Kong.
to my thoughts, guys. If you want to see Nicolas Cage perform Mortal Kombat fatalities on animatronic characters, you're gonna have
And
a
who
good time.
doesn't?
You're gonna have
Yeah.
a good time. If you want to see an animatronic mariachi tortoise named Tito the Turtle yell "I my balls," you're gonna have a good time.
In Spanish.
He said mis huevos.
I could not stop laughing. So my rating was, I kind of waffled between 3 and 3.5, but I settled on 3 stars. I kind of feel similarly to this as I did about Letters to Satan Claus, though I think I like Letters to Satan Claus a bit more. That was a little
Blasphemy.
better craft. You haven't even seen it, dude. Trust me.
I know, still.
But I did have a good time with this. I had a lot of fun watching this. So let's get into spoilers. So the setup for this, Nicolas Cage is just a loner driving in a really nice, I forget what type of car it was, really nice Camaro on a desolate highway. His car breaks down and he is given a ride by one of the townsfolk here. And it's basically they're running the scheme, as you find out later, to... Well, this is getting into spoilers. Yeah, this is getting into spoilers. But he can't afford to pay this repairman because he's asking for like ridiculous prices to like replace his tires, basically. So he
can afford it. The guy's just asking for $1,000 in cash, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And the ATM machine there doesn't work. And so he's like, I know what you can do. You can work it off. And so he meets this guy. I forget the name of the character, who is the manager of Willy's Wonderland. Tex. Who's the manager of Willy's Wonderland. And he's like, just clean it up, make it look nice. In the morning, your car will be all good to go. I'll pay it for you.
And remember to take breaks.
Yeah. And Nicolas Cage, then no talking, no dialogue. In the meantime, we're introduced to a character named Liv, played by the actress Emily Tosta, who has been trying to burn down Willy's Wonderland. And she's taken by her legal guardian, played by Beth Grant, who's always great in everything she's in. She's like the sheriff of this small town.
A shit ton of movies.
Yeah, she's always a great kind of hardwired crazy lady. Yeah.
And she locks this girl in a pretty funny scene in her room. And she's like, "You're staying there." And the girl's like, "What if I have to take a piss?" And she's like, "There's a bucket."
Yeah.
She locks her in. And so that's that. And so we're introduced to Willy's Wonderland. The text plays a little video for Willy's, and you meet all these animatronic characters in this promotional video. And so there's 8 of them. There's Artie the alligator, Willy the weasel, who is like Chuck E. Cheese. There's Siren Sarah, who is really creepy. Nighty Night, Ozzy the ostrich, Tito the turtle, Gus Gorilla, and Kim the chameleon.
Okay, I gotta say, like, aesthetically, the alligator's my favorite. I think he looks awesome. He looks like the game Crocodile Dentist brought to life.
I like the ostrich. I found that the creepiest.
I think I agree.
The thing with the neck going everywhere.
I agree. I think the
Disturbed
ostrich
me.
was creepiest, which is why I'm surprised they killed it off first. But that was obviously the one they chose to make an animatronic.
Yeah, well, now that I know that was the only animatronic, I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's why they killed it off first. They only had to use it for a day.
Yeah.
Kim
the chameleon was pretty.
And plus, the tongue weapon was great.
Yeah.
The gorilla, personality-wise, the gorilla was great. Actual
like
functionality and killing-wise, I have to hand it to the knight. It's because he killed my least favorite character.
I guess there is a fairy too, but the knight and the fairy feel like they're like they feel like when they built Willy's Wonderland, they like got those off of something else. Like, oh, we got these 2 extra from this other thing.
It's kind of
Throw
how
those
Chuck
in
E.
there.
Cheese was too. Like they had all these animals, and then they had Pasquale the pizza chef. I think the night might be an homage to that. Yeah, it's a little weird.
So basically, the text or whatever tells Nicolas Cage, make sure to take breaks, which Nicolas Cage's character takes literally, and he takes several breaks to this movie. Which, reading the interviews with the director, these breaks where Nicolas Cage is like playing pinball is supposed to be like akin to him leveling up as a character. Which I could see.
I just thought it was hilarious that he's like that he takes the break so seriously to the point where like someone else is about to get killed and he's about to help out, but then his watch goes off and he's like, well, I gotta fucking take my break. So he just goes and takes his break. Like,
Here's your knife. Here's a knife.
Yeah, so I think the
it.
band starts to play and Nicolas Cage doesn't really react much to it, and then he like continues cleaning, and then the ostrich starts to attack him, and he despines it. And which is pretty awesome. And then he just keeps going. He doesn't no reaction.
Yeah,
goes full Sub-Zero, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
he's got a job to do.
This girl this group of friends break her out of her room, and this is kind of the part of the movie that doesn't work as well. This group of friends, they do not look like they would be friends in real life. This is just a random assortment of actors.
Yeah, they don't really get along either. They just seem like a group of kids that are forced to come together. Because they all live in this town and they like made this pact that they're going to burn this place down. Why haven't they burned this place down before this day? I don't know.
I was cool with all of them dying because they were all kind of annoying. And they didn't seem like they really liked each other. And all they did was bitch and complain. So
I just feel the same way kind of about the kids. Like everything with Nicolas Cage to me works. Everything works with Nicolas Cage really well. And then I just fucking hate these kids. And they're clearly there to just, to have scenes to die basically. And I don't know if it would be better without the kids, like with just Nicolas Cage. But
I think we need people dying.
It would be better if the deaths were more creative and interesting, which they really weren't.
Well, it also would be better if we actually cared about the kids and liked the kids they had interesting characters and they actually fucking did something.
What I would have done with that alligator scene is I would have had them making out, right? But the lights keep blinking or whatever. And then maybe like you see that she's kissing the dude, but he's got the alligator jaws around his head. And then she's just kissing a fountain of blood when the lights come back on. Would have been tremendous. And then she's kissing the alligator. So you have that comedy bit in there too, where the alligator's face is in the place of the boyfriend's severed head. And I think that could have worked better than what we had there. But an alligator eating someone is great.
Maybe if the kids were like incompetent to the point of like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, like to where they're just like killing themselves almost. Like it's crazy. Because one aspect of this movie that I think is funny is that the animatronics are pretty fucking weak as far as like how easy they are to kill. Which
Nicolas Cage is just strong, dude.
Well, then the girl takes out the turtle though just by beating him with a shotgun.
Yeah, but he's still alive at the end of the movie. Like,
though, no one even tries to shoot these things with a shotgun. Like the girl goes, the cop woman, like at the end of the movie, she goes in there and has Nicolas Cage, with at gunpoint. Like, we're going to sacrifice you to these people. It's like, woman, just shoot the animatronics with your shotgun. Clearly, that works. Nicolas Cage is just beating them, just killing them with his fists and a knife.
Yeah, I mean, there's some logic gaps there, but I don't think they kept me from enjoying the movie other than disliking characters. That may have kept me a little bit from enjoying some of the movie.
It only bothered me when it had to do with the kids and kind of their entire function with the movie, because they serve no purpose, really.
little weird that none of them are rednecks when the whole town is rednecks. A little weird.
So this group of characters, they go to burn down Willy's, and Liv is like, no, this guy is in here. We got to get him out. And they're like, who cares? Just burn it down. It's like, he's in there. I don't want to kill a person. So Liv goes in, she climbs in through a vent, and she's chased by one of the characters in the vent, which could have been a cooler scene. It kind of goes too fast to really factor into anything, make much of an impact. But she gets out, and then she has kind of a chase with Sarah Siren, and I think Nicolas Cage bails her out.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the kids, they like fall through a roof. Like,
and then there's no hole. There's no hole in the roof.
They just fall through a roof into a ball pit.
That shit's pretty expensive though.
And they're like, how are we gonna get out of here? And I'm like, I don't know, guys. Why don't you go back through the hole you fell in through?
Yeah. So Liv rejoins them in like the main room, and she goes to like stab Sarah Simon with a knife, and Nicolas Cage stops her for some reason. That's not explained.
Oh yeah.
And she's
mine.
and she's like trying to talk to him, and again, he doesn't say anything. He just gives her kind of looks, and she's like, "Okay, well, we're communicating something, I guess." This is weird. And the friends go off to explore too. The couple goes to the super happy fun room, which we'll talk about that in a minute.
I mean, I got the impression that Nicolas Cage is only killing the animatronics when out of self-defense, like when he has to, because it's not like one attacks him and then he just is like, he could have just been like, all right, well, fuck this, and just killed all of them immediately. Like, he's just like, no, I'm just going to do my job, and if one tries to kill me, then I'll defend myself.
Yeah, because he doesn't attack them until they come alive. So he's just like, they're a mess that he has to clean up when they become a problem.
So then Liv explains the backstory to Nicolas Cage about how Willy's Wonderland came to be. And it's basically the same like setup as Chucky. So Grant Kramer plays Jerry Robert Willis, which sounds a lot like Charles Lee Ray. And essentially, he was like a notorious serial killer, and he opens Chuck E. Cheese, basically, Willy's Wonderland. And he hires like a bunch of deranged people to work at this place with him. And the way they kill like these kids is there's like a birthday room called the Super Happy Fun Room, and they bring them into this room and dressed up as costume characters, and they kill these kids and their families as well, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And they get away with it for a while before eventually missing reports pile up and there's a stench there. And instead of facing the cops, they perform a satanic suicide ritual to transfer their souls into the animatronic puppets.
That was the biggest laugh in the movie for me because it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we're just going to assume these serial killers. Oh, and,
yeah.
They just did a satanic ritual so that they get transferred their souls into animatronic. Of course.
That was my thing to me. Like, I wanted to see more of this Jerry Robert Willis character and more of his personality in Willy the Weasel. I get that maybe you're not going to do that with every one of these characters. You can only have so much runtime. If you do that, then it's going to be like Funhouse Massacre, which didn't quite work, So like, but I would have liked to at least seen more of Jerry Robert Willis, because Grant Kramer, he's only in this for a bit, but he's great in those flashback scenes, bad. So like, I just wanted to see a little more of that character and his personality. I wanted to see a little more Chucky, if that's what they're going with here.
Yeah, I don't think this was the case, but it definitely feels like that was almost like an afterthought. Like, oh, I guess we should probably give some backstory to these animatronic characters.
It works. And so basically the town, as we eventually hear from Beth Grant, who plays the sheriff, made a pact with these characters to feed them, because the characters were just like escaping the restaurant after it shut down and just killing people. And they were just like, stop hurting us, we'll feed you, like a Seymour and Little So they like just catch drifters and use them to clean up this place and feed them.
What I want to know is, why did they agree to that?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they just be like, no, and then just keep killing people? You can't stop us.
Maybe because they can't go too far. It's just going to look weird if you're just an animatronic character, like, just like
maybe
walking like hundreds of miles. But apparently they have sequel ideas. So anyway, so yeah, I thought the puppets, could have used a little more personality. They had some, but they could have, considering these are just all different deranged individuals, I would like to see a little bit more. And I would like to have learn more about Jerry Robert Willis. So we get this backstory. These characters start to kill off the kids, and the deaths are just they're not that interesting compared to like how Nicolas Cage dispatching of them. The deaths of these kids are very kind of just by the numbers, and kind of, there's a lot of shaky cam involved. There's one scene where like they just kept turning the lights on and off, and I just wanted to like punch somebody, because I was like, just stop doing that. I don't like seeing this. This is, if you're epileptic, just maybe don't look for that scene, because it's annoying. So these characters are killed off. That couple that's making out awkwardly, dry humping each other with fully clothed, is dispatched, and you don't really get to see too much of it. You see glimpses of like guts and things like that. I mean, I don't know. What were you guys thinking about this?
I was cool with it. I felt it was like a budgetary concern. If you're gonna spend money on kills, spend money on killing the animatronics. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, so there's like a moment where like Nicolas Cage, like there's a girl that's being attacked. I think it was maybe by Sarah Siren or one of the other characters, and she's about to be attacked. And instead of helping her, he just goes to take his break.
Mhm.
Then she
Good
starts to
times.
fight this character. He starts to play pinball, and the pinball scenes are pretty great. And then after he's finished, then he goes to help her, and he takes care of it. It's just,
Yeah.
all the there's one scene where the kind of one guy in the group that maybe you're supposed to kind of feel some empathy for,
No.
Kim the chameleon, tries to convince him that she's a good animatronic.
No, I was immediately like, oh, he's really gonna fall for this? This is
Yeah,
hilarious.
well, he was there just to be the simp anyway, so it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, because they tried to set up an angle that like he has a crush on Liv or something, but they don't go anywhere with it.
Well, because he dies.
Yeah.
His name is Kris, and I take offense to that.
Like, so Cammy dispatches him by wrapping her tongue around him and just cracking his neck. But I'm like, I want to see a little more, guys. You could have like
that deserved a decapitation.
Yeah, like come on.
Yeah.
Because it was a cool. I like the way they like lit up this like little small arcade. It could have been a really creepy scene, and they just it just falls flat a bit for me.
If you're gonna steal from Mortal Kombat, steal Reptile's fatality where he eats your fucking head with his long tongue. Yeah.
So eventually, Beth Grant, the sheriff, shows up and is really pissed about what's going on, and has Liv taken away by her partner, and is like in handcuffs Nicolas Cage, and is like, "You're gonna die, and we have a deal," and yada yada yada, and it doesn't work. Nicolas Cage gets out, and then she comes back in. Eventually, when Willie goes after her, and this was probably the coolest death in the movie, when Willie like just slashes Beth Grant in half. That was cool. But the final showdown with Willie Weasel versus Nicolas Cage is like non-existent. Basically, he kind of beats up Nicolas Cage for a minute, and then Nicolas Cage just like gets up and destroys him.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then
I'm wondering if this is a thing in Nicolas Cage movies, because if you watch the first Ghost Rider movie, he just wins every fight with no effort, exactly like this.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, these animatronic characters are pretty weak ass. Like they're not hard to kill. Like
no,
I mean,
there's a scene where Cage is fighting Sarah Siren and Kim the chameleon, and like Kim is just standing there idly by while he's like squeezing Sarah's head with his like thighs, his thunder thighs.
It just makes me wonder why the village didn't just burn the place down instead in the first place.
Yeah, it's just kind of like and Beth Grant trying to like this guy can clearly kill all of them. Why are you still going along with this pact? Like, but obviously,
exactly. It's like he clearly killed the rest of them. Just let him keep doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are trying to apply too much logic to this movie. This requires turning your brain off completely.
There's a reason I'm applying logic for this movie, and it's because it's not distracting me enough with the other things. Like if it was more, like it had more going on, especially with the kid characters, and was having a little bit more fun, then I would be distracted to the point where I wouldn't give a shit about the plot holes. But here we are. I'm also kind of like not sure. I'm torn, because I think part of Nicolas Cage's awesomeness is just the way he talks and the way he delivers lines, and to have him completely silent, I'm almost like, it works, but it kind of doesn't work. Like it works, but it almost feels like I'm getting cheated out of something.
I feel like I would have felt that way if we didn't get the pinball scenes with him dancing around. I feel like that's where we got caged right there.
Mm-hmm.
We got caged hard.
Yeah. I needed a little bit more of that, though, I think.
Yeah, we could have used a little more, color out of space Cage here, but I just love that he went from milking an alpaca to like despining an animatronic ostrich, and I'm just worried about any emus out there.
Fuck them, they're evil.
Emus or camels, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, well, emus and ostriches are both evil, horrifying creatures. So,
So that's pretty much. I mean, he kills Willie pretty easily, and then the girl Liv just decides to get in the car with him as he's driving away.
After she does nothing, she gets like taken away, and she like knocks out the turtle character. And it, like, if the script were stronger, Yeah, she would have had like something to do with the destruction of these characters, but yeah, she just comes back and she's like, "Oh, I guess the movie's over. I missed it. Sorry."
Yeah, she takes like 20 minutes to get back to the place. She is walking instead of driving, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, that's the place you try to be realistic? I mean, come on.
Yeah, if there's one thing Nicolas Cage would say in this movie, he's like, "Oh, you thought you were the main character in this movie? I guess fucking not."
I feel like he should have said, "Get out of my car." That's what. That's all I would have wanted.
Yeah, that would have been great. Because it's like, what is their dynamic? What is? Does she find him? Does she find him attractive? Like,
he hands her a piss jar.
We're not stopping.
So they like run over Tito the Turtle on the way there, and then Tex and the scummy car mechanic come, and they're like, "Oh shit, he actually did it. He killed them," and they're like, "Hell yeah, let's toast to this." And then Sarah Siren escapes and like blows up their car,
and herself,
and that's the end of the movie. And I've read that they have some sequel ideas. A few different ones.
There's like 5 other Five Nights at Freddy's games to steal from.
I'm really curious to see how Five Nights at Freddy's is going to work. And I know there's like the creator of that game has like so much lore in that franchise. It's like ridiculous. And that's why the script is taking so long, because it's like morphed into different things. I'm guessing an original version of it probably looked a lot like this, but I think he's probably added more to it. But I have a feeling that'll be a little scarier than what this was. But I thought this was fun. Like I said, guys, animatronic mariachi tortoise yelling, "I my balls," like good time. So that is Willy's Wonderland. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we move on? I think we pretty much said it, but
how does an animatronic tortoise have balls?
That's
so new. What is the sound of one hand clapping?
And on that thought, so we have a new segment to segue from animatronic animals. We're going to class it up a bit. And to do that, we need the classiest person on this podcast, Mr. Kris Pistol. Do you want to introduce this segment for us?
Yes, and it is an anagram for genuine class.
No, but I'll hand it over to my friend Vincent Price. Hello, it's me, Vincent Price, here to introduce to you a classic segment where we talk about classic horror films. Yeah, so guys, I watch a lot of old shit. That's like my bag. it's like my thing. So this week I was trapped in my apartment, and whenever I would venture out to go get food from the Cajun restaurant down the street, when I was sick of eating my own home stuff, I was listening to Sherlock Holmes while I was walking and trudging through the snow, the audiobook. So it got me wanting to check out some of the movies. And a lot of people don't know, there is a Hammer horror film from the studio Hammer, the classic British red paint blood studio that remade all the classic horror movies in like the 50s. They did. This is where Christopher Lee's Dracula comes from. Christopher Lee's Frankenstein, and other movies starring Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. But they did an adaptation of one of the best Sherlock Holmes books, The Hound of the Baskervilles, in 1959.
Great ass movie. This actually used to be on TV a lot when I was a kid.
Yes.
I've definitely seen an Hounds of the Baskerville adaptation, but I don't remember if it was the Hammer one or not.
Oh, I've seen
a long
multiple.
Time ago.
I've seen multiple because there are a shit ton.
I did read the book a long time ago.
Oh yeah, it's a great ass book.
Yeah,
it's probably the best. I think it's the best Sherlock Holmes book. Probably.
I think it's the only Sherlock Holmes book I've read. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna read one, I'd probably recommend this one, or one of the short stories.
I read more Agatha Christie, but Hounds of the Baskervilles was good.
How adorable!
Yeah. What's wrong with Agatha Christie?
Zach was a little girl.
Zach with his Agatha Christie and Nancy Drew collection.
You guys need to read Agatha Christie. I will not accept this Agatha Christie slander on my podcast.
I'm just messing with you. I like Agatha Christie. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
So this is directed by Terrence Fisher, who did a lot of the horror Hammer films. He did Horror of Dracula. He did most of the Dracula films. I think he did Curse of Frankenstein with Peter Cushing. And of course, this stars Peter Cushing as the titular Sherlock Holmes, and Sir Christopher Lee, not as Watson, as Henry Baskerville, because I'm guessing Christopher Lee was like, I'm not fucking playing Watson. I would never lower myself to playing Watson.
It's like, would you want Watson towering over Sherlock Holmes by like a good foot? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It would be a little awkward.
If anything, Christopher Lee has to play Sherlock Holmes. And I think he did eventually in other adaptations.
See, what they should have done is had Christopher Lee playing Dracula pretending to be Watson, and that would have been incredible.
They should have had Christopher Lee play the fucking Hound. Just have him out there in all fours. Howling through the moors. That would have been awesome.
It's like Vincent Clore, though.
Yeah, he plays Henry Baskerville, even though in the book Henry Baskerville is an American. Christopher Lee's like, I don't fucking do American accents. I wouldn't lower myself to do that. So he is Henry Baskerville.
This is my American accent.
Basically, the movie is them fucking around on the English moors, using a lot of the same sets that they used in the Frankenstein and Dracula movies, because that's what Hammer was about. They were about reusing sets, reusing locations, reusing actors, including Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Well, they had to save all that money for the fog machine, buddy.
Exactly, yeah. Just a shit ton of fog. The one thing I'll say, this movie is great on atmosphere. Peter Cushing is great as Sherlock Holmes. There's even like an extended kind of epilogue at the beginning of the movie where they're giving like all the backstory, which is just kind of like just talked about in the book, but in the movie they're like, well, we got this fucking we've got all these like old timey costumes we got to use, so we'll just make that like a 20-minute sequence at the beginning of the movie.
Nice, yeah.
I would say the only downfall of this movie is that when they show the titular Hound, it looks nothing like the scary ass Hound on the poster. It's a fucking dog with a mask on it.
Yeah, it's like a German Shepherd with a. Oh, I'm sorry, they wouldn't call it that. An Alsatian Hound.
Yeah, it's a skinny ass Hound.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They can't say German Shepherd in England.
Yeah. They also changed some things around from the book to make it. I think they dumbed the mystery down a little bit more. It's kind of pretty obvious who the bad guy is from the outset.
Yeah, it's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
It is. It's like, oh my god, it was the Sinister Man the whole time.
It was the guy that's typecast as being the Sinister Man all the time.
Yeah. But, fucking Christopher Lee is great. He actually looks like he's having fun in this movie versus, like, the Frankenstein movies where he's, like, looks like he's being tortured.
Yeah, that makeup looked painful. Yeah.
He's like, oh, I actually got some. He's actually saying lines in this movie other than in the Dracula movies where he refused to say any lines. And Peter Cushing is just hamming it up as Sherlock Holmes. He looks like he's having the time of his life. So yeah, it's a great. If you haven't seen this one and you're interested in sort of the Hammer era, I would definitely like throw this. This is not one that's talked a lot in like when you talk about Hammer movies.
Yeah, because it's like a licensed title. It doesn't fall into the horror genre really, but it does.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a cheat. I feel
it's horror adjacent. That counts.
Yeah. It definitely felt like it was.
You think it's a horror movie. Like if you follow the story from the beginning, you think it's a horror movie until it's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I mean the book is fucking creepy. I think. Like I've reread it several times, and I think I always get like chills reading it. So yeah, fucking check out The Hound of Baskervilles from 1959.
I say that the book. It's Doyle's best work.
Yeah, I say that because there's like 100 Hound of the Baskervilles movies. So
yeah,
this is the one from 1959.
And they get progressively shittier looking with their portrayals of the Hound, actually, which is saying something. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was Chris's classic horror corner. So
thank you again.
I'm excited to have this new segment. So we just wanted to class up the place a bit, guys. We talk about so much gross shit on this podcast. Speaking of which, let's get back to doing that right now.
Speaking of which, let's take all that class and throw it right out the window, my friends.
With another new segment.
Segment Case to Create. Okay, Look, I gotta preface this a little bit. I grew up a huge fan of Troma Studios, and they basically defined my high school years ever since I picked up a copy of the Toxic Avenger on VHS at Best Buy, back when Best Buy used to have like the best movie selection around. And believe it or not, that was, like 94 to 98. It was actually a pretty poppin' store. Yeah, huge Troma fan through high school. It basically is what got me into filmmaking. I wanted to become a B-movie mogul more than anything, and then I realized that I was about 10 years too late to become a B-movie mogul, unfortunately. And part of the advantage of me being old as shit is that I was able to say I grew up kind of watching these things, or at least in high school. But Zach is 12, so Zach has not seen a lot of these movies. And so I said, Zach, my son, my adopted son, real talk, like, Zach is like one of my best friends, and it hurt my heart to hear that he hasn't seen these movies that were so like formidable in my life. So, Zach, since you are a bro of the highest order, and we can't be close friends until you've seen a Troma movie. It just so this segment is Casey forces Zach to watch Troma movies. Hit that music.
All right, so in this premiere edition of Casey Makes Zach Watch Troma Movies, Casey, what are you making me watch today?
Okay, so first Troma film that I had you watch was the first one I watched. Actually, it's not the first one I watched. That's a lie, because USA Network played a lot of them, and I know I had seen like The Closet Monster before this, which is tremendous movie.
I think this is the logical starting point.
Yeah,
I mean, it is.
So.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not where Troma started, but it's where they kind of got their name, and that's the Toxic Avenger. I found, Zach, the Japanese cut of it that has the most gore. This wasn't the version I grew up watching, because I was told my unrated, uncut version was the best, goriest version, and they lied. And they didn't have the full head-crushing scene, even though they said they did in
the Japanese,
the advertisement. But the Japanese version is the version you want to watch. I think, honestly, like if you watch this on Troma now, their streaming service, it's the one that it defaults to. I think you automatically get this cut. The way you could tell is when Skippy gets run over by the car, do they back up and run over his head? That's how you know you got the better version of the film.
Is it in Japanese, or did you?
No.
Okay,
not at all.
No,
there's. Yeah, it's just the cut that they used, completely in English, 100%, no subtitles, nothing like that. But yeah, it's a little longer, and it has some more gore in it. Mostly just in that scene. Like, the rest of it is pretty much the same as any version you've seen, unless you've seen the R-rated version, which if you see that, you're fucking up, because a lot of stuff got cut for an R rating. MPA was really mean to Troma.
Well, Zach, what did you think?
Yeah, Zach, this is your first Troma movie, right? Like, as far as you know, anyway.
I've seen tons of Troma clips, but yeah, I've actually never sat down and watched a Troma film. It's admittedly a big blind spot for me, even though I'm very well aware of Troma. So
yeah, and it stuck out when we were watching Psycho Gorman, because you weren't saying it was Troma-esque when it really was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe he's never seen any of these movies. So I'm like, all right, we got to fix it. We got to get Zach watching this
and
shit,
Toxic Avenger.
Society.
Toxic Avenger has been on my list for a while. So yeah,
one of my favorites.
Yeah. So this came out in '84, directed by Michael Hers and Lloyd Kaufman, of course. Lloyd Kaufman, the founder of Troma.
Yeah, Michael Hers also. And I think I saw this for the first time in 94 or 95.
Oh god.
But I had been a fan of the Toxic Crusaders, the cartoon in 1991, based on the Toxic Avenger. which was the attempt to cash in on Ninja Turtles' popularity and making an environmental themed cartoon.
So my initial thoughts, I'm guessing most of Troma's movies take place in Tromaville. Is this correct? Or
50-50?
50-50?
Yeah.
Tromaville, the toxic chemical capital of the world.
New Jersey.
My first thought was, I need a membership at this Tromaville Health Club because, wow, you just see this montage of people working out, these total assholes. Just like, there's a dude like on a chest press machine, and one of the villains in the movie just like rips this guy's hair and just yanks him off the machine. You see who you find out is the gluttonous mayor getting a massage next to like an 8-foot sub.
Yeah,
sandwich.
That was an impressive sandwich.
There's just dudes hanging out in G-strings, pumping weights. And then you see poor old Melvin, who's just like the king of the geeks, janitor at this health club. Poor Melvin.
Played by the great Mark Torgel, in a way so convincing that people would argue if Melvin was supposed to be mentally challenged or not. He's actually not.
I didn't think that.
I didn't get that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some discussion.
He's basically Ken from 30 Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
He's a cartoon.
But he's a horny Ken.
So the main villains, at least initially, of this movie are these two couples, Slug Bozo, Wanda, and Julie. And I'm not sure if it's Slug or Bozo, but one of them looks like Corey Feldman's like older brother, like the older.
That would be Slug.
Yeah, he looks like Edgar Frog. Like, damn, that's like the same bandana.
Yeah.
So that distracted me for a while. So I was like, wait, is this Corey Feldman? I needed to check. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. He would be way younger. But he looked a lot like him. But these are just like vile, racist sociopaths that just murder kids for fun, for points. And I think my main critique of this movie is they really don't get the comeuppance they deserve. They get a comeuppance, but it's like the most gory deaths in this movie are like innocent bystanders. And I'm just like, I don't understand that decision. But other than that, this movie is pretty fantastic.
They actually ended up recutting the movie, and I think that's in this version that you watch to make it more vague of what happens to the girls, because originally it was just going to be Julie got her hair cut off and Wanda got her ass burned.
Yeah, they
didn't die.
Yeah, like I don't understand that. Like Julie or whatever wanted to kill the kids. Like. But
they cut it in a way that it looked like Toxie stabbing her to death with scissors and maybe just kills Wanda after he burns her ass in the original version.
Yeah, so you have this setup where these dudes are just like torturing Melvin for no real reason. There's like one scene where he's kind of a pervert and he walks in on them making out, two of them making out.
Slug and Wanda, who got married in real life after filming this movie.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I wonder if they're still married.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So
Melvin watching them fuck.
What a beautiful movie.
So the setup for how Melvin becomes a Toxic Avenger is so ridiculous. But they I think it's Julie decides to put one over on him and make him think she's gonna make out with him and stuff. But she dresses him up in this like pink tutu with polka dots. And then they get it's a cow or a goat or something, and a sheep with like lipstick on, and he turns out he's like making out with the sheep, and like all these people are just around and following him and like chasing him and laughing at him, like just ridiculous. And so he like runs out and he just like jumps out this window, and this like these dudes like carrying this toxic waste just parked outside the Tromaville Health Club to light up, and he just like falls into a vat. And then he's just like burning and no one's doing anything to help him. And he's just writhing on the ground. And then he runs home and then he transforms into the Toxic Avenger. He grows like a foot and his face mutates and
his narrator voice becomes more
his voice changes
to like a 1950s sounding man.
There's a very the line used to describe him as a superhuman a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength.
Yeah.
He turns into.
No, I think it's a great character. My thing is, so they set up these villains, Slug, Bozo, Wanda, and Julie. You see them like just ruthlessly murder this kid on a bicycle.
Mhm.
So when you're setting up villains like that do like something that dang heinous, you need to give them a better comeuppance. Come on.
See, well, the thing is, Toxie fights all evil. It's established in the sequel that he has a chemical reaction in his brain called tromatons that allow him to detect evil and kill people.
Yeah.
And he kills the shit out of some people, though. I gotta say, his encounter with Cigar Face's gang and his encounter in the
Mexican
restaurant.
Yeah. We'll get you. I have thoughts on that scene.
highlight of the film.
I have a lot of thoughts on that
best
scene.
in the film.
I have a lot of thoughts on that scene. I just find it an odd choice to make the most gruesome death in the movie, in like a Toxic Avenger movie, this poor kid, and not like these villains that are like heinous fucking people that you want to see just ripped up into like a million pieces. So,
well, that's why it was changed in like every cut other than the one you saw.
I'm just wondering how that's scripted like that. I don't know, but like why cut away from the girls getting destroyed? Like, and then after like he's killed like a couple of them, he like heinously murders their like older like grandma in like a laundromat. Like,
it's funnier, maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's what there's
funnier to see children and the elderly get tortured.
I think what it boils down to is I'm overthinking it. So
yeah, stop. It's a Troma movie.
So
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
the best scene in the movie is these three thieves that go to rob a Mexican restaurant, and they're like the dumbest criminals in the world because they all dressed in like outlandish costumes. One of them has like red face paint on, like half his face.
Yeah, he's like warriors. That's Leroy. There's Frank.
And like any smart
Rico.
like any smart thief would do, they just pronounce themselves to this restaurant and introduce their names and who they are.
I'm Frank. This is Leroy.
This is where you meet Sarah, who becomes Toxie's girlfriend. She's blind and has a dog, and they kill her dog, which is just horrible. And then they show a close-up of the dog dead. Again, which is more than like the villains of this movie get. I
don't know about that.
Oh, well, pretty much. So they terrorize this restaurant. Toxie, they kill an innocent dude. They this one dude, he like I forget which one of the thieves it is, but he like points his big ass shotgun at like this little toddler, and he's like, "I'm gonna pump you full of this. How would you like me to pump you full of this?" Whatever freaking line he says. So Toxie comes in.
It's not even the memorable line.
Yeah.
The memorable line is, "Hey Leroy, I always did want to cornhole me a blind bitch." Yes. Yeah, tremendous.
He at least gets his arm pulled off.
Academy Award for screenwriting. Yeah, he gets his arm pulled off and beaten with it.
Yeah, and
Tremendous.
Toxie like ice creams someone to death and turns him into a sundae, which is cool. Fries the guy's hands. I would have liked to see the guy's head fried, but I'll take the hands.
That's expensive.
Yeah.
I really thoroughly enjoy the scene. I think this is the best scene in the movie.
My one question, why does this Mexican restaurant have samurai swords hanging on the wall? Why were they there? Why were they there?
Well, if you got samurai swords when you want them in your restaurant?
I think the answer is this is an exploitation movie. And that because so
it's the only weapon that Rico knew how to use.
Eventually.
Yeah.
So Toxie meets Sarah. They start dating. There's a scene where she gropes his junk because she's blind and thinks it's his hand initially. We're introduced to the mayor, who becomes like the next villain in the movie. He's there. And then officially it sets up to a showdown. Like after he kills the moms of the initial the two guys who I didn't even realize were brothers until it was announced they were brothers. So he kills their mom, and then he feels bad about it. And so the town's like, but all the assholes in the town want to kill him, but then people want to stand up for him, so it leads to a showdown. My thoughts for this movie is I enjoyed it. It's crazy, and I think it's Troma, and I'm interested to see how batshit Troma gets. I'm guessing it gets a lot more batshit than this. And I've seen like clips of Poultrygeist, so I know
I wouldn't subject you to that. I actually really like that movie.
That was the second one I watched after the Toxic Avenger was Poultrygeist, and I was like, oh.
I've seen clips of that, and it just looks absolutely. And I think Cinemassacre did like a review of that in Monster Madness potentially, and yeah, that movie looks is just jaw dropping. But Toxic Avenger, man.
Yeah, the James Rolfe introduction of horror is where I like first started like hearing about Troma, and it was like I was like way too late on it. I was like 18, 19. So when I started like checking out a lot of horror movies I should have seen when I was like 14. and Toxic Avenger I like appreciated a lot, but I remember I was watching Poultrygeist and thinking like, oh, I would have really enjoyed this as a 13-year-old. And I've lost the capability to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Troma is best enjoyed semi-chronologically, which is why I'm kind of curating Zach's choices here a little bit to be the most enjoyable.
Curating is
so
fun.
yeah, I started with the Toxic Avenger. I'm glad you liked it, Zach. It makes my heart feel good that I introduced another person to Troma, and you know, if I could do that for some of our listeners too, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Troma just has like its own set of ratings. So if I was going to rate this, I mean, it's Troma. You know, like I'd probably go like 3.5 maybe or something like that. It was a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what comes next from this in my Troma journey.
It's going to be the class of Nukem High.
That's one I've heard a lot of, so I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, I'd actually say like, if you were to watch it, you'll love it. But if you watch the class of 1984 first, you might love it less, because it is made to cash in a bit on the class of 1984.
Okay,
which is also a tremendous movie. I love both movies actually. This doesn't have Michael J. Fox in it though.
You know, I've got Class of 1984 sitting on my Blu-ray shelf, and I still have not watched it.
We need to watch that.
Just remember, Kris, that's what that movie is. What the teaching profession is. Just remember that.
So you're telling me the other Toxic Avenger sequels are not good? Is that correct?
They're not as good. Like, I enjoy part 2. Part 3, it kind of sucks. Citizen Toxie has a lot of awesome stuff to it, but you need to see a lot of other movies first because it's referencing like Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, and like all kinds of stuff that you need more of a frame of reference for.
Did Lloyd Kaufman ever collab with Charles Band or like any of the Full Moon?
No, not really. They were kind of separate things. What's weird is Redneck Zombies was originally a Full Moon release somehow, and then Troma distributed it. I don't know how that happened, but there's a Full Moon logo at the end of Redneck Zombies, which no one's ever explained. So I don't really know.
I'm just wondering if there was like a friendly rivalry between these companies, because they're so kind of... They're
pretty spread apart though. It was like an East Coast, West Coast thing. So, you know, Troma was all out in New Jersey and Full Moon was out here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Troma extremely superior to Full Moon. Extremely. And I love Full Moon. Yeah. Kevin would probably fight me on that, but I don't know. He might agree.
Well, TerraVision was not Full Moon, right? That was...
Yeah, that's Full Moon.
Yeah, that's Full Moon.
Is that Full Moon?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I sing that every time I watch WandaVision.
WandaVision. Another show I probably should start watching. Don't hate me.
Oh Jesus, Zach! Come on.
I'm on episode 2 of Mandalorian now. You'll be happy to know. One more thing on Toxic Avenger. They are remaking this, and Peter Dinklage was announced as the new Toxie, which has me very excited.
He's probably the new Melvin.
Oh, they're gonna let him be Toxie. He's Peter Dinklage, man.
He's gotta be. Yeah,
he's Peter Dinklage.
He's got to be Toxie.
I know in this, the Melvin was not the same actor as Toxie, but I'm pretty sure Peter Dinklage is going to be both. So I'm very excited.
That would make it even better to have a short person like beating the shit out of criminals. I would love it.
I actually have no faith in this remake and wish it wasn't happening. But if it gets Troma money, it gets Troma money.
Yeah.
They can probably make 50 films for the money they're getting for this one film. So yeah, I love this movie. It's rough around the edges. It's a little weird. That's Troma, and that's part of the charm. Yeah, if you're interested in how this was made, I can't recommend enough reading Lloyd Kaufman's book. All I ever wanted to know about filmmaking, I learned from the Toxic Avenger. He's written other great books like Make Your Own Damn Movie, Direct Your Own Damn Movie, Produce Your Own Damn Movie. Dude, it's the first one. It's the one that you got to check out first because he goes through the history of making these films. and it's very important to read because you get to learn some stuff. And James Gunn assisted with writing, aka probably wrote the whole book. So if you like James Gunn's sense of humor, you'll see it here. Opens with a story about James Gunn beating off on Lloyd's desk that may or may not be true. It probably is. No, it's a great book. It really does give you some insight, like when they accidentally made like a 4-hour-long movie for Toxic Avenger 2, so they made it into 2 movies, 2 and 3. But yeah, it happens. So yeah, you're in for a journey, Zach. This is going to be a fun segment. It might not be fun for you, but it's fun for me because I practically have this movie memorized. I've seen it so many times. So yeah, it's good times. And
well, let's get to I guess let's plug our social media and stuff, guys, since we need to wrap it up. I know Casey was podcasting for like 10 hours yesterday.
It was 5. Yeah. So I want to plug at Lucha Gringo, my Twitter, and my letterbox. But I also want to plug March 20th. I am part of a virtual Lucha Libre Expo. I interviewed Lucha Libre legend and one of the most famous wrestlers in the world, Vampiro, for about 2 hours yesterday, and it was some good shit. So even if you're not usually into my wrestling stuff, if you want to hear from Vampiro because you might know who he is, there's a lot of crossover between horror fans and Vampiro fans because he's a goddamn vampire.
He's a goddamn vampire.
Check out luchacentral.com. They are going to have that going on March 20th. It's going to be live. They're going to show matches that have never been shown before. They're going to have our interview, which isn't live. It's to tape, but it's going to be a streaming event on the 20th. And if you miss it, it's going to be a while before you see it on my show in clips. So you gotta watch it the first time. The other thing is, if you want to see just how that came about in my other wrestling podcast, it's Masks, Mats, and Mayhem. That is part of the Lucha Central podcast network.
Yeah, so tune into that for an interview with a vampire. Okay.
Yeah, we should call the episode that, actually.
So definitely check that out. Follow us on social media. Follow our main account on Twitter or YouTube under Another Miserable Podcast. Follow us there. Again, the Twitter URL will be changed to Another Miserable Podcast soon. I am just waiting for the artwork, but just look at Another Miserable Podcast. You'll find us. Subscribe to us on YouTube. What are your personal Twitter accounts, gentlemen?
Oh, you can find me.
Said mine.
You can find me at the Twitter at the handle at my name, Kris Pistol. That's Kris with a K and Pistol with a E. Same thing on Letterboxd.
Yes. And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd under Earth2Zach, Earth the number 2 Zach. And I need to get doing Letterboxd. I've been the last thing I put up there was Psycho Gorman, but I've just been really behind in filing my reviews. I never put a Hellfest or
lazy ass
Bloodfest review up there. So I've been busy with work, man.
My thing is credits roll, review goes up. That's my personal rule.
Yeah. Sometimes before the credits roll, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I will get to updating that more. Please, if you enjoy what we do, consider leaving us a nice review on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you like to listen to us. No one has taken me up on this offer since I've started asking people to do this, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but please consider leaving us a nice review. It would help us out.
This is what you're doing wrong. Listen, we give you this podcast for free. How many episodes have we done now, Zach? Roughly?
This is 41.
40 million.
Okay. We've given you
not counting commentaries.
Right, not counting the commentaries, because I'm looking.
We'll do another one of those at some point.
I'm looking at our list, and really, we've had. Oh God, yeah, they're not listed as episodes. Damn, we've had roughly a year of our lives for you people. The least you could do is give us a review. Damn it!
It's almost 2 years.
Right. Okay. So we've given you 2 years of our lives. We've gotten you through the quarantine. Most of the time we really have to poop when we're doing this show, and we're just, waiting to finish the show. So listen, give us a review and say, thank you guys
like right
for giving
now.
me something to do for making my workday go a little faster. You know why? Because it helps other people find the podcast. It's not just because it makes us feel good. You don't have to make us feel good. You don't have to blow smoke up our asses, but it helps other people find the show. We're trying to grow here. So if you don't feel like doing that, just tell one of your friends, hey, check out this podcast I listen to, and then we'll be good too. We don't need your rating. Get another person to listen. Maybe they'll leave us a rating. Maybe you have a less lazy friend.
Or just give us a rating without the review. We're just begging at this point. Subscribe to us. Bro. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we really appreciate all the support that we get. But yeah, please tell your friends about us. We're trying to have a very big year. We'd love to get picked up by a cool podcast network. So, but we continue to have fun doing this, and we continue to try do different things and do new segments. So let us know what you think about the Classic Horror Corner, and Casey makes Zach watch Troma. And we'll do another retrospective at some point as well, do another themed episode. We're going to do a Frankenstein show at some point. We got a Godzilla vs. Kong episode, which will probably be like the first episode in April, because I think it comes out the very last month of March.
Maybe get some Mortal Kombat in there. I don't know.
So, yeah, fun stuff. And please stay safe. If you're in the cold where Kris is, please bundle up and don't do anything silly. If it's not safe to drive, don't drive. I think it's probably getting better in a lot of areas, but if it's
don't lose your fingers or toes. Yeah, it's a good. Frostbite's bad. Stay inside, warm yourself up. Hopefully, you got one of those nice creepy company blankets. They're pretty warm. I put them on my bed. I get a little sweaty, so should be good. Should be good. And so watch Toxic Avenger if you haven't, because I'm going to be watching you. And if I find out you listen to our show and haven't seen the Toxic Avenger, I'm going to get whatever your listening device is and break it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. Stay safe. We will see you on another episode of Another Miserable Podcast, or Decomposed.